Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Cole Blackburn here at Pinecone Properties Northwest. So today I kind of wanted to just go over with you how we price homes and how we are going to come up with a number that we offer you on your home based on our numbers and what we need to actually put into the home, make it worth it, what it's going to cost us to sell the home, and then what the after repair value is. So generally, we're going to start with the after repair value. So if we think a home is worth, say, $200,000 after we repair it, then we're going to work our way backwards. So we're going to say, okay, this home's worth $200,000 after we repair it, and then we're going to subtract, say it needs $20,000 worth of repairs. So we're going to subtract 20 grand from that. That puts us at 180. And then we're going to subtract the amount out that it's going to cost us to sell it. So that's about 7 to 7.5%, and that is going to include commissions. It's going to include excise tax, which is a state tax that everybody has to pay when they're selling a home, and it's going to include escrow and title fees. So we're going to have to add that in as well, and then we're going to also have to add in our holding costs. So generally speaking, sometimes we use all of our own money to purchase a home, and a lot of times though, we will use private lenders. So that could be a friend that we have that's lending us money, or it could be a hard money local lender, or it could be any number of different avenues. Just generally speaking though, they're going to have some sort of interest rate attached to them. So say we're borrowing money at 12% interest, or 10% interest even, just to make the numbers easier. So that means that over the course of, if we borrow $100,000 over the course of the full year, we're going to pay $10,000 on that money. So you take that $10,000, you divide it by 12 months, and that brings us down to just under $1,000 a month is what we're going to have to be paying. So if we're borrowing 100 grand, we're going to be paying, say it takes us 6 months to finish the project, but that's another $5,000 we got to pay. So you add that $5,000, into the 7%, into the $20,000 in repairs, and then you subtract it, say, from that $200,000 that we initially started out with. So in that case, we're going to be looking at somewhere in the ballpark of probably, $40,000 is what we're gonna spend to get the house to where we want it to be. So we're gonna take that number, subtract it from the $200,000 after repair value, and then we have to figure out exactly our target amount for what we want to make, and that's going to vary depending on what condition the house is in. So if there's a house that we don't have to put that much money into it, and it doesn't cost us that much out the gate to hold on to, then we're going to be willing to take a lower amount in what our net profit needs to end up being. So if a house only needs 20 grand, and it's only going to take us 3 months, we might be okay with taking a smaller profit, versus if a house is going to take 6 months and it's going to eat up, say, $400,000 of capital, and it's going to cost $20,000 to just in holding costs to get to that point, plus another, say, $60,000 in repairs, then obviously to make it worth it for us, we're going to have a much larger profit margin. So that's just kind of to go over how we look at things. A lot of people think that when we're making these offers, some of them may seem lowball, but that's only because we have to subtract all of those costs out in order to get to where we want to be, in order for it to even make it worth it for us. So, and it really depends on your situation. If you're watching this and you're a seller, I mean, it's going to vary so much. I mean, some people need to get out of their homes right away. Some people just don't have the money to repair their homes, and they are going to end up having to sell it for cash anyways, which is what I talked about on the last video, if a home's not financeable or versus if it is. And then the other option for you, if your home is financeable and you do want to sell it on the open market, you're going to have to look at what's the trade-off for selling a home and making more money on the open market versus selling to someone like Pinecone Properties over here. And usually that's gonna just be more of your time, more of an investment if you have to do some repairs. It's going to be a little more stressful, generally speaking, if you haven't ever sold a home before. You're gonna have to hire an agent, you're gonna have to show the home. There's just a whole rigmarole that you have to do, and that may be the right choice for you. That's something we always want to try and guide people towards is what is the best option for them. And so, because that for us is the most important thing, is having a reputation that is honest and transparent and is going to last, stand the test of time. So within that, when you're selling with a realtor, you got to take a few things into consideration. If your house needs repairs, that's something you're generally going to have to do. You're going to have to get it set up and staged to an extent to where it takes really good photos and it shows really nice. You're also going to have to pay a realtor. So generally it's going to be somewhere between 5 and 6% for a commission, and that's total. That covers the listing side, and it also covers the buyer side. So whoever brings the buyer in generally gets somewhere about half of that commission. And then you're going to have excise tax, and that's normally, at least in Washington State, around 1.5 to 1.7%, depending on where it's at in the current market. And then you're going to be looking at about 0.5% for escrow and title fees. So those are just some things right off the bat that you're going to have to pay for. So you can just basically subtract 7.25% to 8.25%, depending on what the commission is, from your bottom line. And then also, if your home, you think it's going to need some repairs, depending on, if it's a newer home and it's in great condition, odds are you're not going to have to do much for repair, generally speaking. But that is something you need to factor in as well, as some people are going to ask you to do some stuff, or they're going to ask you to reduce the price in order to cover certain repairs. So that's really, to drive the point home, that's really the benefit of going with Pinecone Properties. You're going to have to leave a little money on the table, depending on what situation you're in, depending on how much your house needs. It's going to vary. At least from our perspective, it's going to vary on how much you're going to need to leave on the table in order to do it. And to go with a realtor, you're going to have to jump through more hoops, spend more time, and just generally speaking, it's just going to be a process that's, if you don't mind doing it, then you're going to make a little bit more money. So that's the trade-off. And if your house is in a position, just to kind of remind you of this point, if it's in a position to where it's going to have repairs done in order to sell the home, then there's a good chance you're going to be best off to just sell to someone like us anyways, because if you're not willing to do those repairs, you're going to have to put it on the market as looking for a cash buyer anyways. So that's it for today. I hope this helps. I hope this really kind of gives you the differentiation between what it's like to sell with a realtor, what it's like to sell to us, and why we come up with the number that we come up with, so that you're not surprised when we bring you something. So appreciate you tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.